Hi crochet friends, welcome back, or welcome if you're new to my channel. I'm Maggie and this is Maggie May Crochet. In this video I'm going to show you how to make these comfy, cozy slippers. All these slippers were made using the same pattern. The only difference is the weight of the yarn and the size of your crochet hook. They're all done in a continuous round using single crochets. It's a super simple pattern, a very easy one to follow, and I think even the most beginner crocheter should have great success with this pattern. So let's get started. Alrighty, so to demonstrate how to make these slippers, I am going to be using Bernat's velvet yarn. This yarn recommends using a size 6.5 millimeter or K crochet hook. You'll need a stitch marker, a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and I would suggest a tape measure. If you know the size of the person's foot that you're going to be making your slipper for, this makes things a whole lot easier, so you'll know that they'll fit. I did find a chart online. You can just Google, I think it was shoe size conversion chart is what I put in, and it tells you if you know, for instance, that a person wears a size 10 shoe, for example, how many inches long their foot is. Okay, so to demonstrate how to make the slipper, I'm going to be using just a regular worsted weight yarn. I think that it's easier to see the stitches, and if you're a beginner crocheter, this will be easier for you to follow along. I'll switch over to the velvet yarn after we kind of get a hang of things here. So to start with, you need to make a magic ring. If you're not familiar with the magic ring, I'll put a link in the description box below for a tutorial on them, and I will put a card above here too. But briefly, to make your magic ring, you're going to take your yarn and lay it over 2 fingers. You'll bring your yarn around those fingers and make an X. Use your thumb to hold that X and turn your hand over. You can use your ring finger to hold the yarn snugly on your fingers. So take your hook and you're going to place it under the first strand of yarn and grab the second strand, or the one that's closest to you. Pull that under that first yarn and twist your hook so that you have a twist of yarn on your hook. As you do that, you're going to notice this piece of yarn, the one closest to you, moving. That's your working yarn. So you're going to want to take your hook and grab that working yarn and pull it through the loop of yarn on your hook. Okay? And that's your magic ring. Now into this ring, we want to make 8 single crochets. A single crochet is just taking your hook, placing it into the ring, yarning over and pulling the yarn through that ring so that you now have 2 loops of yarn on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull the yarn through those 2 loops on your hook, and that's a single crochet. Now we're going to mark that first one that we made so that we can find it when we come around, that this was our first stitch. And then we're going to place 7 more, so we'll have 8 in total. Again, you're taking your hook, placing it into your ring, yarning over, pulling that yarn through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull the yarn through those 2 loops. Your hook into that ring, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, okay? So we've got 1, 2, 3. So far. Now to count your stitches, you can turn your work over and you see these V's. Each V is a stitch. So we've got 1, 2, 3 stitches so far. And 8 single crochets into our ring. Okay, so now we can tighten our ring up a little bit. I'm not going to tighten it all the way because that can make these stitches difficult to work in for the next round, but I'm just going to kind of bring it together some so that it resembles a little bit more of a ring. Okay, so this was our first stitch. For our second round, we're going to be placing 2 stitches into each of these stitches so that we're increasing. We have to start with 8. Our second round will have 16 stitches. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and into this first stitch I'm going to place 2 single crochets. I'm going to take my hook and place it under the front and back loop of my first single crochet, or each of these strands that make a V, the front and back. I'm going to yarn over, pull my yarn through. I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, and pull through those 2 loops. Okay, that's our first stitch in our second round. So I want to take my stitch marker and mark it. Now I need to make a second single crochet into that same stitch, and I'm going to be placing 2 single crochets into each stitch thereafter to have 16 in this second round. I'm taking my hook, placing it under that V, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on my hook. Doing it again into that same stitch, going into the next stitch and placing 2 more single crochets. This is called an increase, where we're going and placing 2 stitches into 1 stitch. Into the next, placing 2 more stitches, and continuing all the way around until I get back to that stitch marker, and I should have 16 single crochets in this second round. Okay, so I'm back to this first stitch with my stitch marker, and now I'm going to make sure that I've placed 2 stitches into each of the stitches all the way around, and I should have 16. So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, so we counted each of these V's all the way around, and I do have 16. This is a good time now that we can tighten up this inner circle. So to do that, you just take the tail and you're going to pull it tight, and it will cinch up that circle. So for round 3, we're going to do an increase, but now rather than 2 stitches in each stitch, we're going to put 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around, so that we increase in this round by 8 stitches. So the total in the end will be 24. So I'm removing my stitch marker, and I'm placing into the next stitch 2 stitches. 1, I'm going to stop here and put my stitch marker in so I don't lose the beginning of the next round. So 2 into this stitch, then 1 into the following stitch, then my next will be 2. The next stitch is 1. The following will be 2. So it's every other stitch we're increasing. And at the end of this round, we'll have 24 stitches. Okay, so I'm back to my stitch marker, and now to confirm, I'm going to go back and count my V's, and I should have 24 in this round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. All right, so from this point forward, we're going to just continue with 24 stitches per round. And we're going to do that for 16 or 18 rounds, depending on the length of slipper that you want. As you're working, you're going to notice your work is going to start to kind of curl in on you and curve in, and that's what's going to make this little toe box, the curved part of your toe box. So I'm placing my first stitch and my stitch marker, and I'm going to continue around for 18 rounds. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the velvet yarn because I do want to make the second sock to this pair. So I think now for people who are beginner crocheters, you can kind of get the idea of how to place these stitches. Like I said, this yarn is kind of hard to see your stitches in the beginning if you're newer, so I would definitely go with a worsted weight yarn until you are more comfortable seeing and counting stitches. Alrighty, so I switched over to the velvet yarn, and I wanted to show you how your work is going to start to curve as you continue with the same number of rows, or rounds. What I like to do now, once it starts curving in like this, is to curve it around back. It's going to be a little easier to get your stitches in once you have it turned the right way, or the correct way. So my tail will be on the inside. We'll go back and sew this in a little bit. And I'm just going to continue round after round. One way to help keep track of your rounds is each time you come to your stitch marker, just have a little pad of paper next to you and you can mark your rounds down. Okay, so far I've got 4. And each time I come to the stitch marker, I make another little hash mark, and that way I can keep track of my rounds. Once you are more familiar with crochet, you'll be able to see your rounds and count them too. But that just makes it a little easier, and it's a good habit to get into when you get into more complicated patterns, to have a scratch piece of paper nearby and keep count that way. So you see how things are kind of coming along. I'm going to keep on, and I'll check back in with you once I have my 18 rows. Okay, so we just finished our toe part of the slipper. Now we're going to work on the heel. For the toe part, we crocheted in the round, but the heel is going to be created by crocheting in rows. So to do that, you need to chain 1 at the end of your round, and then you're going to turn your work. Now we need to place single crochets in 16 of these stitches. So we'll go into the very first stitch under that first V there. This yarn is a little tough to see, but you can separate it like this and see that you've got both pieces, and make your first single crochet. There's 1, 2, 3. We're going to continue around until we have 16. Okay, at the end of 16, we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and work our way back. And we're going to continue this back and forth for 10 total rows. So that was row 1. This will be row 2, going into that first stitch and back to the end. At the end of your 10th row, chain 1, turn your work, and you're only going to come halfway across. So I have 16 stitches coming across, so I'm going to single crochet into 8. So we want to come halfway to the back of our heel here. All right, so once I've made it to the halfway mark, I'm going to chain 1, and I want to fold my heel over, but I want the seam to be on the inside. So to do that, I'm going to flip it almost inside out, okay? That way when we turn our heel, the seam will be on the inside. So what you need to do is join both sides with a slip stitch. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to place it underneath my single crochet on one side, and then I'm going to put the hook into the corresponding single crochet on the other side, yarn over and pull through, so I have a slip stitch there. Now I'm going to do this all the way down each stitch, so I'll have 8 slip stitches, and that's going to join our heel together. Make sure you go through both layers of your work. Okay, when you get to the end, chain 1, and now I can turn this seam to the inside. Okay, now what I like to do, you can be done here if this is where you want to end your work, but I like to take and go around my work one time with single crochets to kind of help give myself a little edging here. So to do this, I'm just going to start placing single crochets into the top stitches of my work as I go around. There's no particular way you need to do this, just kind of space them evenly. When I get to the corner, oopsie, here I'm going to join my corner, and I'll show you how we do that. Just single crocheting all the way around. Now for this corner stitch, I want to round this piece, so I'll put my hook in to this stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and then put it into the next stitch to join. So I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'm pulling through like that. Okay, now I'm coming across the straight edge of my slipper, and I'll just continue on with 1 stitch, 1 single crochet, whoopsie, 1 single crochet into each stitch. Then I'll get to the corner and I'm going to join two stitches together. Okay, so I'm coming up on the corner here, and this is where I'm going to join them. Go into 1, loop over, go into the next one, loop over, 3 loops on my hook, and pull through all 3. Then I'm coming right back down and continuing with my single crochets until I meet the back where I began. Okay, so I just placed my last stitch. Now you can stop here. I like to put a little fuzz on here sometimes if I want to make the little footy slipper, but for this, because I want to make the pair of slippers, I'm going to continue making rounds up until, let's see, how many rows did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, gotta trim that, 14 rounds up the sock to make a little part that I like to fold over like this, okay? So now that we've got our single crochets all the way around, you can just continue in rounds as long as you want. You can make your the top part of your sock as tall as you like. So I'm going to continue with my rounds, and I'll meet you back and show you how to put this little decorative edge on. So let me show you how we're going to finish this off. Just going to cut myself a pretty good tail here and pull it through. I want to go ahead and sew in my ends. So the toe part, I want to sew that in. So we're just going to pull this tight so that our magic ring is closed up nice and snug. And then just take a darning needle and sew your end in. I like to take my needle and kind of go around that circle. Just going to take it underneath these stitches here. So I've gone around the circle, and then I'm just going to take my needle and feed it through a couple more stitches in the other direction. Okay. Okay, so I kind of did a nice little invisible stitch there, and now I'm going to just bring it down and through a few stitches so that it's in there nice and snugly. Okay, so you can leave it just like this. I'm going to go ahead and sew this kind of fake fur, faux fur, all the way around the top. So to do that, I'm just going to take my needle or my hook and bring it through. And then I'm just going to make single crochets all the way around into each of my stitches across the top. Okay, and each stitch, I just pull it through. So this pattern is super easy. The challenge with this is using the textured velvety yarn, or even this can be a little bit challenging if you're new to crochet. So again, these slippers can be made using a regular acrylic yarn. They make nice slippers as well. You will have to adjust your stitch count and your hook size using a different yarn though. This slipper here is pretty stretchy and fits a lot of different sizes. I wear a size 10 and this slipper fits great on my foot. I'm actually making this for my daughter, and she wears an 8 or an 8.5, and she tried on the slipper and it fits her as well. So it can fit a lot of different people. Okay, so to end this off, I'm just gonna give myself a tail, pull it through. I have my two ends, and I can tie those into a nice little knot. And then I'm going to sew my ends in. Just going to bring this down to kind of cover that little pink spot there. It's coming through. And then I'm going to feed the needle and thread in and around underneath here. And then just trim that. And you'll do the same with this tail. All right, so there it is. You can adjust the size by making this part of your slipper a little longer, even shorter. I used 8 stitches here at my magic circle, and that brought my slipper out to be, let's see, about 4 inches wide. If you want a skinnier slipper, you could use, instead of 8 in your first row, 6, and then you'd have 6, 12, and then 18 rather than 24. So it's really quite adjustable. Just remember to start your magic ring and then increase by doubling that number, and then increase again by doing 2 and then 1 all the way around. And that will give you a different size circumference. Your heel piece can be adjusted as well. I had 10 stitches here, but you could try 8 for a shorter slipper. It's just, the sky's the limit. Just adjust the pattern to fit whatever size slipper you're looking for. Now, one thing I wanted to show you too, called Sock Stop. It'll give you a non-slip surface on your sock. I'll go ahead and put some on here so you can see. I ordered this on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description box in case you want to order it. But these are very slippery, as you can imagine, and this will help give the slipper a non-slip surface. So it comes out white. This one, it comes in different colors too, by the way. I bought the transparent, and I was kind of freaked out when I first applied it because I saw the white showing up like this, and as it dries, it does become clear. It comes in all different colors, so I mean, if you wanted to get creative and write people's names or anything like that on the bottom, you can. But I just place, this along the bottom of the slipper and let it dry, and it gives a nice non-slip surface for your slipper, so you don't have to worry about anybody slipping and falling if you have hard floors. If you are looking for a large size, by the way, for a man or just a woman who has really big feet, I do have another video that I made some slipper socks for my son, made with a much thicker yarn, bigger yarn hook, and boy, they came together really fast because of the thickness of the yarn and the larger hook size. So I'll put a link for those slippers as well. My son wears a size 13 shoe, and I'll tell you, finding a pattern that will fit a 13 wasn't easy, so I just decided to take this pattern and adjust it, and he loves his slippers. They fit real well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I post a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.